Now, in a significant political maneuver, Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa has removed Lieutenant General Anselem Sanyatwe from his position as commander of the army, reassigning him to the role of Minister of Sports. This move, announced on 25 March, has ignited widespread speculation about the stability of Mnangagwa's administration and internal dynamics in the ruling ZANU-PF party. Joining me to discuss this is Richard Mahomva, Zimbabwe's International Communications Director. Richard, always good to speak to you. Now, critics suggest that Sanyatwe's removal is an attempt by President Mnangagwa to eliminate potential rivals. How does the administration respond to allegations of this consolidation of power at the expense of democratic processes?
So the starting point is that he was not removed, but he was promoted. So I think that should be the starting point. And we should also remember that the president is a public servant, and those whom he directly appoints are supposed to serve public interests. Therefore, in that regard, Comrade Sanyatwe has just been promoted to serve in another function of the state. And remember, this is not the first time. After the 2018 election, he was assigned as our chief diplomat to Tanzania. And you have also seen, in the past, that the senior officials of the military have been reassigned into government. I'm talking about the late Dr. S.B. Moyo. I'm talking about the late Comrade Terence Shiri. So it is something that relates with the head of state's assessment of those particular individuals' capabilities to serve in government, and not anything that really should be narrowly confined to power consolidation. It is an issue that is happening on the pretext of public interest, given that the president and those that he appoints are public servants.
Richard, how important is sport in Zimbabwe?
Well, sport is an important feature in any nation, in the sense that it promotes cohesion, in the sense that it reinforces ideas of belonging. This is why, regardless of citizens' political polarities in any jurisdictions, citizens support their national teams. So sport is an element of society or an activity that facilitates unity, that brings together diverse people from diverse social backgrounds to actually rally around the national cause, rally around identities, and affirm their belonging, as it were.
Now, when you draw comparisons or parallels to the importance of various offices within Zimbabwe, one has to contend that the sports ministry versus being the most powerful man in the national army pale in comparison.
So the starting point is that it's not just the sport ministry. It has got a layer of arts, it has got a layer of recreation, it has got a layer of culture. And as you know, the aspect of arts is a very important tool in inventing the soft power of any nation, and in manufacturing what a scholar called Chomsky would describe as manufacturing consensus. So the issue of arts is equally critical in designing nation, in branding a nation, in branding perspectives of identity. And so for me, it's equally important in as much as the issue of culture reinforces that aspect. So for anyone to want to downplay the significance of the social cohesion and social integration that comes with sports, the identity building and the identity framing that comes with the arts is quite narrow, in the sense that most countries in the global north who have their propaganda permeating the global south do that through the arts. So we are at a time where the arts are a very critical pillar of pushing brand Zimbabwe, and the assignment of Comrade Sanyatwe in that regard actually reinforces the soft power reconfiguration of the state from the perspective of the arts and the social cohesion from the perspective of the sport fraternity.
Now, given Sanyatwe's close ties to Vice President Chiwenga, does this reassignment signal a deepening rift within the top echelons of ZANU-PF? I mean, how does the party plan to address concerns of internal factionalism?
Well, I think it is speculation to assume that Comrade Sanyatwe has got very close relations with Vice President Chiwenga. And even if that is the case, I strongly believe that when people are assigned to government, to particular positions in government, they are assigned on the basis of their competency to meet particular national mandates, and not to eliminate their influences, and not to eliminate the competencies that they have on the basis of being proxies to other people. We are all close to other people elsewhere, and that should not translate to anything that should interfere with our professional roles in any given space.
And what are the special competencies that Lieutenant General Sanyatwe has that make him the most suitable candidate for the small ministry of sport, arts and culture?
Small is relative, depending on your measure to that effect. But his competencies emanate from his top-notch administrative credentials. This is a person who was involved in the running of an army, and you know the running of an army has got various administrative pillars, so which are slightly compatible with the functions of any public administrative entity such as the ministry. That is issue number one. He's also a decorated diplomat, and the fact that he is coming with this aspect of being a global citizen by virtue of his diplomatic experience, it means that he is going to actually develop the culture space in Zimbabwe. He is actually going to develop the arts scene in Zimbabwe and give it the experiences that he actually drew from his diplomatic stint.
Well, you talk about a decorated global citizen at a time when Zimbabwe's relations with the international community could certainly do with some work. Surely he would be better suited to a position other than sport, based on his credentials.
Yeah, but the appointment of ministers serves at the discretion of the president. And remember, the president's relationship with individuals like Sanyatwe is not a post-independence anchored relationship. It is a relationship that dates back to the trenches. It is a relationship that dates back to the armed struggle. So on that basis, the appointing authority is quite aware of how he is going to execute his vision, because the president is the CEO of the national vision, is the chief executive officer of the national vision. So he deploys his forces according to his discretion and the amount of knowledge that he has as far as the competencies of his deployees are concerned.
Now, there are nationwide protests looming and economic hardships persisting. How does the government intend to restore public confidence amidst perceptions of this political infighting, which you argue is not happening? But Monday 31st, there have been calls for various demonstrations to take place across Zimbabwe.
So the government has earned its confidence from the public through the election. And the fact that you've got an individual that is calling for demonstrations does not necessarily mean that the demonstrations will be successful, given the overall history that we know in terms of the state's competency to neutralize, especially illegal demonstrations, as one that we are being told is going to happen on Monday. But also I want to situate the conversation about the March 31 demonstration, within the broader context of external interference that has been pervasive in Zimbabwe's politics. Issue number one is that the major donor of the choreographed despondencies that Zimbabwe encountered since 2000 is no longer in the political scene, given that the United Nations, through the US aid, has removed some aid in most countries, which was primarily used for some of these reactionary activities. So in that context, that demonstration will not perhaps get the usual neoliberal support that previous demonstrations used to get. And you'd also recall that this will not be a first time to have an individual that uses cyberspace to try and mobilize individuals, to try and mobilize Zimbabweans to demonstrate. You recall in 2015, 2016, thereabout, we also had a cyber-anchored mobilization call that ran under the banner, this flag, through a cleric who was called Ivan Mawarire. And naturally, there was this public fatigue around his constant social media posturing, which to me really is history repeating itself through the current instigator of the March 31 illegal demonstrations.
Finally, and very quickly, Richard, is the police on high alert ahead of March 31?
The Minister of Home Affairs issued a statement to that effect. So based on that statement, it is quite clear that all state agencies, I think, are going to be on high alert, which also diffuses the notion that there is sectorial divisions within the securocratic landscape of our country, and that these instigators may be working with certain elements of the securocratic sections of the state. So I think there is harmony within the state in its entirety, and the leadership under the circumstances is united to actually squash any potential anarchy that may emanate from any illegal motivations.
Richard, appreciate your time. Richard Mahomva, Zimbabwe Director of International Communication.